Welcome to Talk It Over. We're so thankful that you're here with us today. Today we are continuing our conversation called Brave. And one of the things that we discovered and we all know is true is that bravery is contagious, that just as much as fear is contagious, so is bravery. If you see someone being brave, you can be inspired to do brave things yourself and think about how you could be brave too and maybe take brave steps forward in your life. Now, I want to ask you: do you spread bravery? And have that conversation with each other? Are you the kind of person that raises the anxiety level in the room? And it's okay to be honest and open. Or are you the kind of person that instead of raising anxiety, you people feel more brave around you? I know someone who is so brave that everybody around him they want to be brave too. They just feel like they can be brave. They can do anything, and he's just always brave. And so I just want you to talk about that. Are you the kind of person that spreads bravery or anxiety? Okay, now I want you to read Matthew chapter 28, verse 1 through 7. Now, what we can take from this, and one thing that you can take from this is that, one, Jesus is alive. Now remember that the disciples had just been crushed. Their bravery had been stolen from them when they discovered that Jesus was crucified and that his dead body was taken off the cross. And now this morning, the two bravest people in the Bible, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they go toward the tomb and they discover that Jesus is alive. Essentially, their bravery is reinstated, restored. They have bravery again. And this news should not just make Mary Magdalene brave and the other Mary brave, but it should make us brave. Now, have you ever been in an earthquake? I want you to start out with that question because the Bible talks about an earthquake and them being scared, or something similar to an earthquake. Share that experience together and you'll have some good stories, I'm sure. Okay, now that you've had that conversation, do you remember a time when you heard, do you remember the first time that you heard the Easter story? Which means, do you remember the first time that someone told you that Jesus died, he was dead, and then he came back to life again? Do you remember that? And not just the first time you heard it, because maybe you heard that as a child, and you'd have a hard time remembering that, but maybe there was a time when you were older, when it registered in a new way or for the first time. Do you remember when you understood it for the first time? I want you to talk about how did it make you feel? Okay, now I want you to read the scripture, Matthew 28, verse 8 through 9. Okay, the scripture is teaching us, and through the story we're learning, that spending time at the feet of Jesus gives us bravery, that we should spend time at the feet of Jesus in order to gain bravery. That those women, they were filled with fear and anxiety, excitement, whatever you want to call it, and Jesus stopped them on the road and he said, don't be afraid. Fear is not part of this journey. And as he was there and as he spent time with them, they became more brave. Their bravery grew. Now, how do you vividly remember? I don't know, those women saw the holes in the feet of Jesus and they held on to his feet as they worshiped him. How do you remember, or how do you most vividly encounter Jesus in your life? Now, we don't touch the feet of Jesus, but I want you to talk about those times when you felt the presence of Jesus and that you felt closest to Jesus. What is this vivid encounter with Jesus do for you, or what has it done for you? Okay, now I want you to read Matthew chapter 28, verse 10. This is when Jesus actually tells the women, you know what? You're not supposed to be spending just time at my feet. That's a valuable thing to do, but don't just spend time there. Instead, Jesus, what we learn is that Jesus will show them the way forward and he will show us the way forward. Now, in your own life, what beyond spending time at the feet of Jesus is he calling you to do? What is your mission? What is the mission that Jesus has given you in your life? Now I want you to read Matthew chapter 28, verse 16 through 20. This is an amazing story. It's where the women have now gone to the disciples, told them about Galilee, and the disciples have gone on, only a few verses after the last verse, and the disciples have gone on, and now they're meeting Jesus, and they get the Great Commission. The Great Commission Jesus says, I have all authority in heaven and on earth. And then he says, therefore, go and make disciples of every nation, even the worst, most vicious nations in the world, and teach them to obey every command, to be my disciples. Jesus is saying, be brave, take risks, and he's reminding not just the women, but all of the disciples and us too, that this is our job. That Jesus has given you this job. He's given you this job to do. Now, how specifically, if this is your job, how specifically are you going to help to fulfill the Great Commission? And how will this require bravery in your life? One of the things that I've thought about how we fulfill that at Highlands Church is on Sunday morning. When all of the congregations come together and we have people online, we have people getting together here and also on the lawn now, out in front of the church. There's great worship services. We do what the early church did. We invite people to come be part of a conversation or a storytelling of who Jesus is and what he's about. Just like the early disciples did. They would go into towns and they would gather everyone around the town square, or they'd gather around the synagogue or the portico, and they would have big conversations and they would share the good news of who Jesus is. That's what we do. That's how we fulfill the Great Commission. And so I want you to be encouraged that you, if you are a part of Highlands Church, you are a part of fulfilling the Great Commission. And you are a part of a brave journey, and the most of the bravery is still in front of you and not behind you. So I thank you for joining us on this beginning of this conversation about what it might be called the 3 ingredients for building great communities, for building communities where more people come to know the hope and joy of Jesus. And the first ingredient was brave, and we had a great conversation about that. Next week, we are going to be talking about passion, about what it means to be passionate, because that's the second key characteristic of people, Jesus followers, of people here at Highlands, who are taking the Great Commission seriously. To not just baptize people, but to engage in the conversation and grow and be strengthened in the truth of his commands, which is to love others as we would want to be loved. And so look forward to that. I hope you have a good one, and don't forget to end your conversation or your time or your meditation time in prayer today, reflecting on all these things. Take care.